This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Boobies.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a listener request.
A listener request. A
From
spooky one at that.
Phil,
Phil, the spooky guy. What is the dude's Bill? I'm like, wait, that is so off. Yeah, Bill.
Bill Nye, the
Oh,
science
I wonder where
guy.
he's at today.
He's probably doing great things.
Both Phil and Bill. Probably. Yeah, but Ganjiam. Am I saying that right?
Ganjiam. I'm not really 1,000. The whole time I thought it was Ganjiam,
Mm-hmm.
and then it has an I in it.
And when we were hearing
Ganjiam.
them say it, they were having that eum in it kind of
Yeah.
sound to it. So Ganjiam Haunted Asylum.
If I had it spelled out in Korean, I could probably pronounce it a little bit better, but I haven't bothered to look it up in Korean. So
Mhm. Oh, how about that? Is that it? Possibly.
Ganjiam.
Ganjiam, probably. But yeah, released in
Ganjiam.
2018.
2018. Yes, it is a Korean horror film with one of my favorite Korean actors in it.
What?
Yay, Lee Ha-jun.
Lee Ha-jun. Who did that person play?
Ha-jun, so they all went by their actual names
Oh, okay.
in the film.
Ah, okay.
So their actors.
Names are their real names in the film.
Yeah.
Got it.
So he went by Ha-jun. He was the captain.
Even Charlotte?
Charlotte was the only one who had a different name.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Charlotte had a different name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
that's
Ha-jun.
pretty lame. I just got a message from the high school
What
that
happened?
they're not allowing costumes on Tuesday.
Oh, tomorrow?
Yeah,
Or Halloween?
pretty dumb.
Because this is being recorded before Halloween, but being released to you
After
after
Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, for all students, everybody, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh.
RIP.
Well, I mean, we didn't. Did they allow that last year?
I don't know. I know
we
one
ne-
year I came in my full Bride of Frankenstein get up.
We were never allowed costumes, but probably for the better
Yeah,
because they knew someone's gonna take it too far.
yeah.
Or yeah. Ooh, yeah. I just watched Huluween's American Horror Stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they released 4 new episodes. They were all kind of okay. One of them, this girl she's in high school and she like went as, I don't even know if I could even say it. Well, it's on TV. Like a baby, but like a dead baby.
Oh,
And she did this because her teacher told her a story about how he lost his child at childbirth. And so she literally, so it was very cancelable. Like it was very like, ooh, yeah, it was very
Jesus.
fucked up. Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah. So someone's going to take it too far.
Yeah.
Maybe not that far, but
Yeah, that's a That's a rather extreme
Ooh,
case.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I tell you, when my mouth dropped, like even me, like we don't get like about anything, like, like that's not too far or whatever, you know what I mean? Or really,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I was like, oh shit.
They
I was
did
like,
that.
damn.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. But Hajun, we have Jihoon, right?
Yeah, so we've got
Just to
one
get all
of
the
the
names out of the way.
actors. Yeah. So we have Lee Sung-wook.
Mm-hmm.
He played Sung-wook. Ha Jun. We have Ji-hoon, who played was Park Ji-hoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also another oh, never mind. Yi Won Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Moon was Charlotte.
Moon Yi-won, yeah. Do you say the Yi-won first and then Moon?
Yeah.
I have it right here, like that, to kind of help.
Yeah. Oh, they have it spelled out phonetically too. And not their actual spelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it depends.
Got
but
it.
yeah, most of the time the last name is said first.
And so we're basically following this group of this collective, I guess I would say, because they don't necessarily all know each other beforehand.
Yeah, only Ha-jun,
the three boys,
Sung-wook, and Sung-hoon know each other. Mm-hmm. And then Ji-hoon, who is also, I think, also Ji-ha. I don't know. Or Ji-ha is another person in there.
Like a lot of my times in my notes, and hopefully it's not like wrong, of like I have like captain, you know what I mean? Like I have nicknames to kind of like help differentiate, like, okay, this is who this person is. And because just to kind of make it easier, because it was kind of hard.
I referred to Ha-jun as captain a few times too.
Yeah. To like kind of keep everybody in line. And also because, I mean, this is a found footage film.
Yes.
And so let's mention that. And so there's a lot of movement throughout the whole film. Everybody's like, we're switching between everybody's camera and camera angles and point of views throughout the whole film. So,
and everyone on their person has two camera views already to start. They have these GoPros attached to the front of them.
Those were so cool.
That was so cool.
That like would swivel. Was it like two cameras on each side?
I think it was two cameras on either side.
Okay, yeah. I thought at one point I saw it like swiveling. I was like,
it probably
whoa.
could swivel too, though. I wouldn't be surprised.
To get like a 360.
Yeah. But on their person, it had a GoPro that recorded both their point of view, but also their facial reactions at the same time. And so then there's 6 of them on top of that. Plus 7 plus the captain.
Yeah.
And so you're getting
so many angles,
so many camera angles at one time, which was really cool. It was really neat, but it does make it really hard to catch up with who is who, and having 6 characters all happening at once, and then also in a language you don't know.
Oh yeah, it's not in English, you guys.
It's Korean.
It's in Korean, which I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a dubbed version out there, but
yeah, but you shouldn't watch that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, it would have been easier for taking notes, but
it wasn't too hard.
Yeah,
to follow. I mean,
had
you still
to
stay
pause
engaged
a lot.
Yeah, to
take notes, but it still was really cool for me to watch. I liked it a lot. And
yeah.
But yeah, we start out basically with these group of teenage boys. There's at least 3 of them there investigating the haunted asylum. And they're surrounding this room 402. And they're joking around, trying to get it into it. And they're not having much luck.
Yeah.
They're like, they took like, what was it, a screwdriver and like a hammer?
Trying to get through, I guess, like the wedge in between or whatever.
Yeah, trying to like pop the lock.
But he was having trouble doing it. And then the whole time they're like either talking to the person behind the cameraman or to someone who maybe who's going to be watching this at some point later on. Like, you said we were too scared to do it, but look, watch, we're going to do it. We're going to open the door.
Yeah.
And then before they can even get in, it just kind of like the feed kind of starts going glitchy and starts to get dark, freezes, and then we don't really know much from them, but other than that they went missing, because I think someone else was the gang mentioned it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I believe it's mentioned that they go missing, and so because
we pop right into
horror. It pops right into, what do they call it? Horror Times
Terror Squad,
which is basically like a YouTube show happening within the movie. It's like we're watching YouTube basically.
Yeah.
For the whole movie.
It was. It was fun.
Yeah,
I liked
that's
it.
pretty cool.
I liked how it had the ad. Like I was watching this on Prime TV with like Freebie. I'd have never heard of it, but apparently it's a thing.
Yeah.
But it had ads in it, and then right before every time that it went to take an ad, I think the ads were so well placed
that it went with
went with the horror times.
So
thing.
it felt like you were on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I was like, oh, well done. Even with these ads being placed. But yeah, we open with Ha-Jun. Wee Ha-Jun is his full name, but Ha-Jun for the film. My baby.
Yeah.
He's from Squid Games.
Oh, okay. Oh, who did he play in Squid Games?
He played the cop whose brother
was. And he went back in to infiltrate. Okay.
Yeah. He's from Squid Games. He's also in Bad and Crazy, which is a cool K-drama. And he's been in a lot of other things, but
he's
those
the new It Girl.
Notably what I know him from. I follow him on Instagram. He's so cute.
And he is basically our captain of the whole film and our troop that is going to be called the Terror Squad.
Look how handsome he is.
Oh yeah, very cute. And then he is basically laying down the backstory of what we need to know about the Ganjiam Asylum.
Yes, it's not Ganjiam is not a place. It's in. I am gonna butcher this, and I've taken Korean now for a year and a half, and I still have no clue. Gyeonggi, Korea, and it opened in May. I paused a lot to get all this backstory. Did you pause it?
I just went with it.
Okay.
But I know, like, I mean, yeah, you probably have more info. Go for it.
Okay. It opened in May 1961 and it closed October 26, 1979, following mass patient suicides and the facility director's disappearance. Some say it was built on ground where the Japanese brutally murdered and buried Korean resistance fighters, which I did want to go into a little bit about Korean and Japanese occupation of Korea's history, because that was such a big part of Korean history and a very terrible time in which a lot of elder Koreans still like actively hate Japanese people and Japanese culture because basically Japan declared Korea as a whole, modern day North and South Korea. So both of them. Yeah. They took over. They assassinated the last remaining monarch and declared Korea a Japanese colony/state. They forced Korean people to abandon Korean culture as a whole and adopt Japanese culture, as in the language, laws, and everything else. They forced Korean women to be comfort women and made them do, they did really horrible acts against Korean women. And it was basically an attempt to wipe out Korean history and its people, and they were seen as second class, and it was almost ethnic genocide in a way of the culture and its people, figuratively and literally. And Japanese government hasn't really apologized for their wrongdoings, and if they have been, it's been very minuscule and not taking full responsibility, and that's why a lot of the older Korean generation still actively hate Japan.
They have that resentment there.
Yeah. It's like I assume what Jews feel against Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then all of that is just fucked up. I mean, it just kind of sucks in any situation, even we're watching now in the world, you know, of like war happening between different cultures just because some people think that they're better than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you know, that other ethnicities, races, religions are inferior to their own. So
exactly.
It kind of sucks. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. And that's why a lot of Korean words are the same as Japanese words. And then if you go back even further, a lot of Chinese, there's Chinese occupation as well. And a lot of Chinese characters are used in Korean as well. Like the Chinese counting system is used with, there's two different types of counting systems in Korean. Super confusing. And Japanese has like 5 or 9 or something like that.
The world is so crazy and how it like got up to here, because it's like you're telling me that like hundreds of years ago. We just wake up one day and like, this whole fucking ass country's taking us over.
Yep.
Like that's fuck ass. That's crazy.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to go into a little bit about that just because, well, Andrew would want me to.
Yeah.
Andrew is
sure.
very passionate about
The history.
talking, about the history and stuff.
Well, if we don't talk about it, we forget it, and then it gets repeated.
Exactly.
Kind of what happens. It's happening now.
Wanted to go into that a bit, but that was one of the theories. Another one says that it was a torture prison disguised as an asylum. And then lastly, they say that the mass suicides were rumored to be actually murders caused by the director who didn't go missing, but completed suicide herself, unalived herself. And basically all the rumors surround room 402 though, and because it's the only locked room in the assignment.
Which is wild to me. You gotta tell me there's like hundreds of doors in that asylum, and there's the only one that's locked. That's locked. Crazy.
I would be wanting to get in there too. Yeah. Oh God. It kind of reminds me. Did you ever watch The Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Red Door.
Yeah, that's true. That they couldn't all get in. Room.
Yeah.
But then essentially the plot twist was they were all in there at one point, right? But they were going crazy or whatever.
Yeah. And then basically the room could open when it wanted to.
Them.
Yeah. That everyone had different uses for that room, and they were all in there all along. And that's what it seemed like whenever Charlotte ran out of the asylum and then ran into the tent, but ended up being in room 402.
Which also confused me because I was like, what? Yeah. I just didn't quite 100% understand.
Yeah, I was just fucking with their brains.
Yeah. It's because they were in there the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they never left.
Okay. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling.
Or they did leave and then it manipulated their surroundings outside to walk back into the asylum. And like that one point whenever they looked down on the ground and the laboratory was outside, they were probably in the laboratory itself. That's true. And things were like glitching over one another.
That was happening throughout the entire film as well. You guys, we have a lot of glitches and a lot of like
a few times I thought my
Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah, it was going bad. And I was like, oh God, I almost said computer. I was watching on my TV.
Yeah.
I thought my TV was like freezing. And I was like, what? And then I realized the sound was still going. And I was like, okay, no, it's the film glitching.
Yeah. And it's the spirits. It's the spirits doing it. And so we get all of this information about the asylum. And after the information of room 402, we have it cutting to everyone meeting at this kind of cafe looking situation. And that's where we get our characters. They're doing kind of what it seemed, like whenever you go to a new class or a new group of people and they're like, stand up, say your name and do things that interesting about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little introductions. And that was when I realized, because on Prime, whenever you pause it, it shows you the actors and stuff too who are in the scene.
The extra information. Yeah.
And that was when I realized all of them went by their actual names.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
And then because Hajun, I don't think he had said his name yet.
And then when he said his name, introducing himself.
And then I was like, oh, that's his real name. And then realized that all of them were going by their real names except for Charlotte, who went by Charlotte.
Yeah. And then so we have...
Because her parents were in the States and she was visiting in Korea.
Oh, okay.
She said that briefly.
Got it. I was wondering why she was like she seemed more Americanized.
Yeah.
Westernized, I guess I should say, not Americanized.
Speaking English rather well. She kept throwing English in.
Yeah.
Every time that there was English, it was basically her.
Even like her mannerisms, I would felt more like California. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But.
And I don't think like you noticed whenever Ayan walks up, that's her name, right?
The nurse or.
Yes.
And when she's like, "Are you filming me?" And I like,
and whenever she walks up too, she like bows.
Yeah,
but Charlotte doesn't bow. I don't think. Well, I don't even think you see her walk up actually.
Charlotte, no.
Yeah, I think she's just all sudden in the chair.
Yeah.
Next to Ayan.
But essentially, they're all getting to know each other and talk about like, Captain is saying how the two guys that are with him are going to be one's doing the editing and one is doing one's on the camera and one is like. Narrating essentially, like main
one's
camera
like
guy, the lead, the hostess,
the host
in a way. And then we have the dude that showed up last. He's the one who's doing the editing and like all the graphics.
Yeah, Jae Hoon.
And then we have
Jae Yoon.
Charlotte,
Sorry.
which I guess is kind of already in the realm of spookiness because she has traveled to other places already.
Yeah,
which
she's
we'll
been
get
to
learn.
3 of the CNN's most terrifying
It's
places.
like the 7 top list or something like that, top 7.
Which this was on there, making this one her 4th.
And then Hi, the nurse, what's her name?
Ayan.
And then she's a nurse, which I don't know if that played in anything of why she was there.
No, I think she was just a volunteer, and she was also the youngest, which I think they needed
comes into play later
for
on.
the ritualistic psychic ritual.
And then, do you remember the girl in the middle with the camera the whole time? What was her specialty, or like was she just there?
I think she was just there.
Okay,
she seemed to be a little bit more like in it already. Like she was already a part of
the terror squad, maybe.
Yeah,
got it. Yeah.
And so
maybe she was the networking factor, like pulling in the girls.
Who figured out everyone.
That's true.
And
so we have them then, getting some food and drinks and talking more about the asylum and getting a little bit more information about each other, I feel like, at this moment. And that's whenever we have them talking about like how many views they can get for this, and they want to make money.
1 million views.
Yeah, they want to make money off of it.
And the ads and stuff that come from, because what was it? They said someone got
150. Someone had like 150 views or something like that.
150,000
and got like $100,000 from it or something like that. It was some big number.
Some big numbers doesn't sound real. Around.
And so then we have.
But they're expecting 1 million views, so that's like 500,000 or something each is what, or total, and then they would get like 40K each or something.
Basically, everybody gets a good bite off of the cookie from the cookie jar. And then like we get set up too that I feel like, especially the dude that gets scared a lot, like Jaeyoon, like she Ayun keeps like Ayan keeps like making little remarks of like, oh, are you scared? And he definitely looks scared.
Yeah.
Like the entire time he's like, no, I'm not scared. Yeah.
Ani?
Yeah.
That's how you say no in Korean.
Okay.
He got so, at first he was like, Ani?
Yeah. And so after this, we get like this little like drinking, like everybody's having a good time montage.
Koreans do love their chicken and beer.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're just vibing, really, essentially. I think it's just to kind of bond a little bit.
And we find out that they do throw around in this bit as well that all who have seen the ghosts have heard the sound of a ping pong ball beforehand, which was almost a little comical.
Right.
Just to be like, what the fuck, a ping pong ball?
Yeah.
But they had, I mean, they really played into it. And when that ping pong ball did show up, I was like,
same.
I was like, no, not the ping pong ball.
The table and all just like cracked in half.
I was like, oh God.
I also thought that as well. I was like, there's nothing really like too menacing about a ping pong ball, but then it really does come into factor later, and it gives you a little jump.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, it's here.
And
can you imagine just a ghost like coming down the corridor with a ping pong paddle? Just like
our Halloween costumes next year.
Just ping pong Ganjiam.
Paddle and a ball.
Oh.
And someone else could be the table.
Okay.
It could be a whole set. It could be a whole thing.
So we could have 2 players. This could be a couple's costume. A couple,
like
2
3
couples.
different couples.
We could have 2 players, and then one be the table and one be the ball, because we need 2 players for either side. So a 4 people costume.
Let's rope more people in, because then we can just have like someone be a paddle, another person be a paddle, and someone be a hand, and then someone else be a hand. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then someone be a ball, and then 2 people to be a
night.
table, and then another couple to be the net. And there's just a bunch.
Oh yeah, someone could be the net. That'd be a cute little fishnet costume.
Yeah. See.
That'd be like sexy net.
Sexy net.
I love it. You got to throw sexy into everything.
All of them.
Yeah.
Sexy table. Sexy net.
Paddle.
Sexy paddle. Sexy ball.
The sexy paddle would be easy. They're already.
It would be Plank paddles. From Ed, Edd and Eddy. And so we have them getting into a van, and now we're on our way to.
And it's D-Day.
It's D-Day. Yeah, we're on our way to go to the asylum, and we're getting more information about like how the there's something more about the director. Do we not? The director went more about the director going missing and stuff.
Yeah, they're talking through some of the other theories and stuff,
and then some girls that went missing a long time, or no, some girls that went there when they went into a coma, and then like they woke back up, and like 2 of them went crazy or whatever.
Yeah, 30 years ago, a group of 3 high school girls went and were found unconscious in front of room 402. One, they were in a coma. 2 ended up jumping to their death after regaining consciousness, and the other one never woke up. Hence why 402 is said to be cursed.
Cursed it is. And so they are also now having to decide about who is going to be opening up the door to room 402. And they play this like roulette spin game thingy.
Spin the camera instead of spin the bottle.
Yeah.
Which made for a nice dizzying scene.
I did not look at it.
That's weird.
I was listening, and it didn't last long, and it landed on Jaeyoon. It landed on Jay, and
yeah, we can just call him Jay.
Jay, and he was very like, no, like y'all, someone rigged it to stop on me. Like he basically wanted it to spin again, and
he was like, "This is fake.
Yeah,
this is not happening." Because of course he is the big scaredy cat. And of course, Ayan was like,
"Are you scared?"
Yeah, and he was like, "Send her home." That was the whole bit. The whole first time she would be like, "Are you scared?" And he'd be like, "Get rid of her." Like, it was funny. Their chemistry was cute. I liked it, and they
it was very playground chemistry.
Yeah,
like
and
push you in the sandbox.
Yeah, and they ended up getting paired together throughout the entire film. And then she basically volunteers at this moment too, doesn't she? Saying like, "I can go with you," kind of thing. If you're scared.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
I think.
And then we have them stopping on the side of the road to put a drone in the air, for a little bit, and then the
drone shots were really cool.
They were.
I liked all the drone shots.
It makes me want a drone.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have any reason to own a drone, but I want a drone.
Just to fly it around,
literally
and get cool shots of yourself playing your day.
And then we have them stopping to have this other bonding moment where they're like, well, let's have some fun before we go to the our deaths.
Arctic plunge.
Yeah, because it's cold, because it's the fall time, isn't it?
Yeah, it was almost October 26th.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they go to this lake, and like they do that thing where that's that big inflatable, and everybody's like jumping on one side, and someone like goes and plops off the other side. So that's fun. Never done it. Would like to do it.
Yeah,
Maybe
the
one
only
day.
time I ever had an opportunity to do that was when I was at church camp in my senior year of high school. And literally within like 3 minutes of being there, I fell out of a tree and had to get 9 stitches in my knee.
Did they send you home, or you just still there?
I had to stay there. And of course I couldn't go swimming in a lake with 9 stitches in my knee, and especially do hard impacts in water, because that could have ripped my stitches open. So I wasn't able to go. I was pretty sad.
Yeah.
I was pretty bummed.
Sorry.
They would have like whole lake swimming days, and I had to just go like
sit out,
walk around,
read your Bible.
Yeah.
I went to church camp for 2 summers.
I think I brought Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and just read that.
And I did not enjoy it, but I was also like 11 and 12, I think.
Oh,
like, yeah. It was young, like church camp, and we were there, and like it was also too like I was very like my mom never let me stay or spend the night at people's places or cousins or friends or anything like that. So like I was with a couple cousins, and my aunt took us and like dropped us off, and I'm like, oh, we're really staying here. Like what? Like this isn't home. Literally. So it was really weird. Like I was also just very shy, so I just did not like make friends, and was just kind of like there by myself both times.
Yeah.
Which was like not that fun, and with a bunch of Jesus people. So I mean, sorry. Oh no. I mean, I'm not sorry. Yeah, it was just a culture and climate that I was just not comfortable in.
Yeah.
And then like they were like forcing it all on me, and then like at one point, like yeah, it's just so crazy, the indoctrination of like children at camp. It's so crazy, dude. So wild to watch it in hindsight now. Look back at it.
Part of it.
Yeah, like all those kids somewhere are assholes. now as adults.
Fuck all you kids.
Literally. And so we are getting into town. We are now arriving, and we have to take a back route because the main entrance to the asylum has been blocked off, because it's obviously
they don't want people breaking in. So it's under patrol by
even
the
nowadays,
police officers and stuff.
Which means like if things are under patrol, patrol like that, and like they haven't even been open for like years and years and years, what are they hiding?
Yeah.
What do they want? What do they want you not to see? Yeah. But yes, and so
all those people going missing, they're probably like, let's not let more people go in.
We have them taking this long drive up, basically kind of through the thick of it, like woodsy stuff.
Into the thick of it.
And they thankfully end up getting to where they need to get, because then they're like, okay, it's time to get off and haul all this heavy ass shit and get to a place where they can set up their little tent in a camping site, basically.
Yeah. I loved how Jae was like, I thought this was a ghost club, not an extreme sports club.
They did definitely give him like all the heaviest bags.
Yeah, he had like 4 bags while everyone else had like one
tiny bag, and they were the big ones.
Yeah.
And they thankfully end up getting to where they need to do and set up this huge ass tent that looked like they were right on like a cliff or like a side slope. And I'm like, that don't seem too safe. But they are there. And then thankfully, after setting everything up, they send the 2 boys to go and set up the CCTV cameras, like the little hideaway cameras in the asylum.
They send Sung Wook and Sung Hoon.
Okay. Wook and Hoon.
Wook and Hoon.
They send Wook and Hoon in there, and they do go set it up. I mean, nothing really like rather unusual happens just yet. It's all kind of going according to plan. And then we have them at this point, that's whenever they are heading down to Asylum. The captain sends the girls with Jay, and they are to meet the other 2 boys in the asylum. And whenever they are walking down that way, they end up basically seeing some panties that are like hanging on on like some branches and twigs, and they're just like, what the hell is happening here?
But Jaehoon just picks him up and is like,
yeah.
Well, let's use it as a marker, which came in handy later. They actually
they tied
did
around
see the
a
marker.
little tree limb.
Yeah.
And that's whenever we do have them making their way over there, and then they get to the area, and then the cameras start glitching at this point for I think the first time. And then I'm like, that's weird. And this is where I was like thinking like, is something messing up? But it's a continual thing throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
And then we get those sirens, and it's funny because there were sirens in the film, but then like literally at the same time there were sirens like in real life. And I was like, wait, and I pushed because I'm like, is this like, this is not surround sound. This is not Dolby. Yeah, it was like, this is too real. And so I pushed pause, and there were sirens going off in real life. So it's like, whoa.
Ghost cops. And at this point, they've already surpassed 12,000 views already. And they've not even entered the asylum yet, which is pretty huge, at least to me. That would be
it's a lot of people.
If I was getting 12,000 views, I would be like, wow, I'm famous.
Dude, are you ever on TikTok and like go to the live stream ones, and then like I'll click on them just like, it seems interesting, and like sometimes I'm just like, how are like 5 million, 0.9 million, like what?
And we're all watching this at the same time.
Is so weird. It's like it makes you out of body almost in a way. You know, it's too much for you to fathom.
Put us all in a room. Crashing.
Yeah, and put us all in a room. Like, what does that even look like? That's crazy.
Not fit.
No, not at all. Right? Big ass room. But
a room the size of the United States.
We have
I don't know how many people are in the US.
I don't either. I don't think it's that many, honestly. Maybe it is.
No, I feel like
it's
New
probably
York
more.
alone probably has like 5 million.
It's got to be some billion. But we have them getting to the entrance of the facility, and this is where we see that on outside of it has graffiti, and it says, "Enter and you will die."
Enter and you will die.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
after we get this doom
Ominous
message on the wall, the gang starts to then do what any YouTuber would do and kind of introduce and set up the scene. We get an introduction from our lead host, Sungwook, and it's basically like, we're the terror squad and we are here to go into the asylum and show you all the spookiness. And that they basically are promising like everything live. Everything is going to be live. They're going to be basically exposing and everybody's going to be watching. And that's kind of the gist of it. And then we start to enter into the asylum, which seems kind of spooky because they're going through looks like it was plywood at one point, but like because of water damage and stuff, it's like, when it does that thing when it looks like kind of tattered.
Yeah, it's been warped and it looks shredded almost
by like water damage and stuff.
Yeah,
but it's still like hanging on. And so they get in, and that's whenever we have them kind of getting through. It's obviously really dark. It looks super abandoned. It looks like things are dirty and out of place. And the girls start to walk to the reception desk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're on the second floor because the first floor is the basement. Mm-hmm. And so we really only stay on the second, third, and fourth floor. Mm-hmm. We never really go down to the first. Even though you assume that's where that's what they go through. Would be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At the bottom layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fourth floor is where all of our action is because that's room 402. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of action that happens elsewhere too, but the fourth floor is where the main everything happens. Shit goes down.
And we have the girls getting to the reception desk, and then Charlotte brings out this little gold dish trinket looking thing, and she starts to put holy water into it and sets up a little camera in front of it because they're going to catch ghosts and spirits, essentially. I guess either manipulating or messing, maybe possibly with the holy water, or in some way being afflicted by it. And then she's like, I think even starting to spray some around the area.
It on the floor and stuff as well.
And then we have them giving a rundown, right? About, is there more of like information? Like, I think they're like basically stating like, we're going to go into this floor and that floor and show you this and go to different hotspots or something like that.
Yeah. They're explaining the different hotspots, but while they're doing that, the room to the door to the director's room just slams shut by itself. And so, of course, they go in and investigate, which is...
Why? What else would you do?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's not enough to show you that this place is haunted.
Yeah. They go towards the noise. And they go in and they find a bunch of photographs of the director. And we see in the first photograph.
Look at this photograph. Every time I look at... Okay, Nickelback.
You ever seen the one where it just every time it makes me laugh, every time it makes me laugh, every time it makes me laugh, and it's just only those words for the whole song.
No, it reminds me of the one I think I told you about, the plastic bag, Katy Perry.
Oh yeah,
Firework. And it's just like, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? And then it just keeps like a plastic bag, like a plastic bag. Yeah. And so
that's funny.
We have them obviously looking at these photographs, like Caitlin said, and one of them has a director with all the patients around her. But if you look at it closely, something doesn't look too normal. They're all a little bit like looking in different directions, and then like spooky. One had even like white eyes. If you notice,
the one directly next to her holding the doll, his face even looked skewed, kind of like in The Ring. Whenever they take the photographs of them and their faces are all like warped, his face almost looked like that. Yeah. He was like twisted in like some sort of agony, but he was holding, this doll, which was actually kind of a cute doll. And I was like, I would have this doll.
It. Yeah. Yeah. It gave you vibes.
It was in Korean traditional clothing, like a hanbok.
There were a lot of patients in this photograph. So there were a lot of people that died
in this facility
or whatever happened to them. Yeah. And we do see other photographs of her like receiving awards and like with like, I'm
playing ping pong,
prominent people.
Yeah.
And they, I think at one point after looking, or when they're looking into the photographs, they hear a noise and they're like, what the fuck? And
then loud noise. And then there's like hair hanging from the ceiling,
which nobody investigates. Yeah. Nobody, because they do even like, they're like, is that hair? And then we don't get anything else. Like I was thinking like maybe someone would get on top of something and like start
Pull
to
it
tug
down.
it. Or,
Yeah.
No. Because they
just like
whatever.
Gloss right over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why are we not investigating that more? That seems pretty spooky.
And so they end up, after that, I think this is when we get more explanation about how they will be performing ritual to contact, the evil spooky spirits. And after we get a little bit of information about this, that's whenever I'm assuming it's the captain reviewing it, but we as an audience like starts reviewing the footage we just saw essentially. And then it transitions into like the horror times main little transition sequence.
Yeah, because he said he was going to play the replay.
Is that okay?
So
got
it was the captain reviewing it. And
got it.
like we were getting to view what the viewers were viewing at that time, basically. So we're like
the
watching
viewer
it
within a movie.
Yeah.
Of the viewers. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty meta.
Inception.
And
but
then we come back with Charlotte, and she's tagging the place. She's writing her name in graffiti on the wall.
Yeah.
And basically being, setting her whole thing of like, this is my fourth place and I'm crossing it off the list and I'm leaving my mark for the spirits, essentially. And then we have it going back to...
and then it also says it either says someone lives here or let's live here. Mm-hmm. Let's all live or something on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Underneath her name.
Yeah. And then that's when Charlotte and Ji-hoon find the laboratory, right?
Yeah, because they're in search of it. They find it. And right before they go in, Ji-hoon's light keeps like turning off. And she even makes a comment of like, why does this thing keep like going off?
Yeah.
And then they get into the room, which doesn't look like a lab. Then they keep going further in and they find the lab in the back side of the room.
And it has some things like a microscope and some, lab sheets and stuff that are all tattered on the floor.
Like old drug bottles and serum thing valves, whatever.
Yeah, and IVs and plastic, the IV pouches and stuff like that.
And then as they're going and investigating even more, they see a doll, which is in the cabinet, which will come back to play later.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice it was gone at first whenever we got to the second room?
Not necessarily at first.
I did. I was like,
when it was on the
gone?
shelf, I was definitely like, oh yeah, that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Charlotte making a note of like, oh, this is where my friend has been before. And he took a psychic photograph here, which is basically like a photograph that has like, it looked like it was like orbs or like a spiritual aura kind of around the person. And so she tells Hyun? She tells Ji-hoon, my bad. Ji-hoon, like come over here and take a photograph of me. But before they can even get the photograph, Charlotte steps on a chicken.
Yeah,
she steps on a chicken, like
knocks over a glass bottle, and inside of it was the chicken.
Okay.
And then that's why it all of a sudden got such a putrid smell.
Smelling so bad. Yeah.
And they kind of freak out in that moment. They're like, oh, this is disgusting. Why is there a chicken? And run out of the room.
Yeah.
And then
cut to
after, we're with Ayan and Jae-yoon, and they're on the third floor hallway. And I love how he was like, even though we're just one floor above, you can tell that it's definitely cooler up here. There's a chill in the air. And he was like, how cold is it? And she goes 13 degrees Celsius. Yeah. And then he says, how cold was it on the second floor? And she was like 13 degrees Celsius.
But then he's like, no, there's such a thing as like sensory temperature.
Yeah.
And my sensory temperature, it's so cold right now.
It was funny. But 13 degrees, pretty spooky.
It's right. I wonder how much is that in Fahrenheit for us Westerners? Would you mind searching that?
Let me googly it.
And so
13.
He's going on about how kind of the vibes are spooky.
Oh, pretty chilly. 55.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's pretty cold. I would be freezing. And then we have...
It's like what it is outside right now. Oh, just kidding. It's 47.
No. And it's too cold for me.
Yes.
And so we have them then seeing the ping pong table.
Yes, they find the ping pong table, and then they find a dead bird.
Ooh. Yeah.
in
So
the,
many dead things.
in the door. So many dead birds, chickens,
It
birds.
looks like a piggin.
Piggin.
A piggin.
Yeah, it did look like a piggin.
And Jay is like spooky ute, like he usually is. And he's like, what? Oh my God, no. And then she's like, come on, let's keep going or do your thing or whatever. Because then he has to introduce how they're like in the 3rd floor and they're going into the shower room, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a shower room and he's explaining how there is a stain on the wall in the shape of a human, which was pretty spooky. I kept expecting that shadow to move.
Me too. Like a Valak type of situation.
I kept looking at it and was like, when's it going to do it? When's it never did.
There's actually a lot of moments in this, like most of the spooky moments you think would come in the times when the camera is like panning over something or like it's just like nothing's happening, but literally nothing happens in a lot of these shots. And I'm just thinking like I'm waiting for some shadow or something to run out.
Or something to be crouched in the corner.
Yeah.
I kept when they were in the lab and stuff, whenever they go back the second time.
Yeah.
And they
with
were
all the guys.
Kind of panning around the room. I kept expecting to see someone like crouched or something in the corner, but they never did. Which I kind of like.
Yeah.
I like that they didn't play into the stereotypes. So,
and we have them then going deeper into like the second half of the shower room, which is like the bathing room essentially, where there's a big like hot tub looking thing. And as they go in, Jay gets freaked out because as he shines the light onto the little pool in the middle, there's like a head bobbing with hair on it. And
I was like,
he is so scared. He's like really, really terrified. And I mean, like he like jumps out of his boots. He's like across the room making noises, huffing and puffing. And she goes to grab it and she's just like, it's just a wig. And he's still freaking out as she's bringing it closer to him. And then she is like, oh, someone just left it here to as a prank, like probably for a joke. And I thought he was like, it almost came off threatening because he's like, I told you to just quit it already. Like, or you know what? He was like, I warned you already. I warned you. Don't do that again, essentially. And I was like, what are you going to do, Jay? You're like quivering over here from a wig. But I think after that, we cut back to Charlotte.
Where were Charlotte and G?
And this is whenever they're introducing room 402, right? They're talking about how it's an ICU.
They're on the 4th floor now. And then basically as they're up there, not much happens. And then, right?
Yeah, because they're talking about it. But then for some reason, they end up going to the director's room.
Yeah, they go back. It's time for the psychic ritual now.
That's right, yeah.
So they're back in the director's room and they have Ayan conducted as she is the youngest. And so they are having her kind of light the incense and stuff. And whenever they go back into the director's room, the room is like covered across the ceiling with this red string and bells all attached to it. And it's like, looks like it's in like a spider web formation.
Yeah.
And, they have this makeshift altar set up that has different, like a, little, what did they call it? The piece of paper.
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But it had 2 candles. It had these like different spices. Is that what you would call them looking things?
Yeah,
they
look like spices and then some incense and then a sort of
like a parchment.
Yeah. That had like a ritualistic things written on it, like almost like a prayer or
like a little scroll almost.
Yeah, there's definitely a word for it and I can't think of it.
Like in English?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I can't think of the word.
Yeah.
But I pick up what you're putting down.
But it's there. And basically Ayan starts doing everything. She lights the incense and they're sitting there and then the candles start to flicker and then the candles blow out and then the bells start ringing everywhere and there's like ding, 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 ding. And then they start
everybody's
falling.
Freaking out and screaming at this point.
Which I would be too.
Yeah.
I would be losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, fuck, we've done something wrong.
Especially after those candles blew out.
Yeah.
Happened very abrupt, like very like aggressive.
Like somebody came up and blew on him right next to him. Yeah, it was terrifying.
And as they're running out, the camera is glitching. And
their motion sense cameras are starting to move by themselves elsewhere in the room other than on the the 6 individuals that are in the room.
Yeah. And
which was
so
pretty spooky.
they run out. They're all terrified. And I believe at this point, that's whenever we get the 2 guys who are a part of the main horror times. They get a call. They get a call from Hajun, and this is basically when we figure out that they set everything up on that ritual because they're trying to get a lot of views and get some good scares.
And they actually have reached 100,000 views at this point.
Yeah,
so they're pretty up there in numbers.
So they're getting like good incentive to like be like keep going, and they're like, okay, yeah, like we're on the right track to almost getting 1 million. And so they end up getting, basically like, I don't want to say encouraged, but directed to, told. He's basically like their employer, their boss. And he's telling them, how like, okay, we need to keep this going and we need to get the girls like even more spooked. And then one of them is like, brings up, we like how Charlotte's reactions are, so we need to really like ham it up with her and like get her, super
freaked
into
out.
it. Mm-hmm.
And then while he's on the phone with them, once he hangs up the phone with them, rather, Hajun's in the base camp, and all of a sudden the gas burners behind him just turn on high.
Yeah.
And then his equipment starts malfunctioning, and then everything's just kind of going to shit there. He turns off the gas burners, and then all of a sudden his cameras and computers are all glitching and going in and out. And then everything just goes dark.
Power goes out.
And he's like, shit.
Like, what the fuck? And this whole time he doesn't think that like maybe they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Because he's just like...
He's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah. He's like,
but not
what
like,
now? Like, yeah. He's basically just like, what inconvenience? Like, I'm trying to get 1 million views here, but not thinking like that's pretty abnormal. I don't feel like that all usually happens because even the wind like picks up and it's like spooky vibes.
Yeah.
Also being outside in a tent by yourself in the dark.
I know. I was sitting there
so
thinking,
scary.
And like on the grounds of haunted asylum, I was trying to think of which place I would rather be.
Yeah, true.
Like if I'd rather be inside the asylum itself with 6 other people, or if I'd rather be by myself outside of the asylum
in the dark.
In the dark.
The whole time I was half expecting, especially when we got a lot of the shots of him in there by himself, when we had the POV of like, him looking at the screens.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time I'm expecting something to move outside, a shadow or something inside against a tent or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was expecting that as well. Yeah. Or someone to just all of a sudden be sitting on the bed behind him.
Oh, that too. That could have been a thing. And so then we have, after all of this is happening with him and then like his cameras come back on, we have the rest of the crew going into the lab back again.
Yeah.
And this is whenever we have the girls freaking out because they're like, holy shit, that doll was not there before.
Yeah. They are panning around the room. And that was when I noticed, I was like, the doll gone? Because I was looking for it in the cabinet. And then I was like, oh shit, it moved, that pretty freaked me out, even though we find out later that part was staged. And once I kind of clued in too, I was like, once he was picking it up and stuff and not really reacting to it, I was like, okay, they probably moved it.
Yeah.
But was still.
But Charlotte is not having any of it.
Yeah, Charlotte's losing her mind.
Very much disturbed and like annoyed at the fact that, and she even is like, doesn't he know like you don't pick up stuff like that at places like this? Like you just don't do that.
It's cursed. And then they even pull up the picture from earlier.
Yeah.
And
it's like
put a side by side. Yeah. And you can tell it's the same doll, even though you could tell just anyways by looking at it.
It gave very much like 48 hours, like, and this was the perpetrator.
Yeah. Dun, dun.
Yeah. And so we have the boys, talking about the doll. She's freaking out and kind of trying to get calmed down by I'm gonna butcher the names the entire time. By the other girl.
Oh, by Jihoon.
Jihoon, yes. And then that's whenever we have I believe they get a call from Captain again, right? Because he has to tell them like, get it. They have to. We need her, and we need y'all to keep doing this. Like we need to keep going.
Yeah, because basically Sungwook and Sunghoon, Sunghoon, are laughing because they're the only 2 in on it, and then Hajun calls them up and is basically saying, if you want to quit, you can all quit right now. But then basically everything that we've done up until this point will mean nothing. And so he's saying like he had called and said, you know, to calm her down so that way we can keep doing what we came here to do. And that's what they do. So now we're moving towards the collective care room, which this part freaked me out.
Yeah.
This room in general.
Anything called the collective care room, because then you think about like me picturing like other hospitals and old timey places. Like this is just a room where a bunch of people were just pushed in that were all sick because there's probably overflow and like probably were not cared for as they probably should have been, and were probably dying in that room.
Especially if you know anything about the history of mental asylums. They are typically, they were horribly overcrowded and people just like basically trampling one another, living in squalor. And
Briarwood from American Horror Story. Remember when Lana Banana goes back in after and like saves Judy?
Yeah.
And it just shows everybody just like basically living in filth and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly like that. And it's just horrible conditions. And this collective care room, with the amount of the coffin like boxes that it had in it too, just imagining people trapped inside there. And like they said, with the holes at chest level rather than at face level. So it's like, what are they even examining, kind of thing. And it's just the terror that the people who lived there must have encountered. I don't know. It's so sad.
It's very terrifying because they are investigating, they are looking, and then one of the boys Sungwook then is going to put his arm and hands into the coffin. And of course he puts his in there, and he's one of the boys who's in on it, and he pretends like his arm is getting pulled into the coffin, which is pretty scary, and everybody's freaking out. And he pulls his arm back out, and that's whenever Charlotte is freaking out again more, and then he wants to go back in, and she's trying to stop him because she's like, "You're crazy, we have to stop him." The girls are trying to stop him, but then this is just a side note, I love how dramatic Korean like shows and TV it's very dramatic
they're all like, no, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
And just like the way that they were freaking out and like all clawing at him and stuff to stop. It was comical, but in a good way, because that's just how Korean TV is. Yeah.
It's really, what's the word? Not even dramatic, but like, it's just like I don't even know. They really ham it up. Yeah. But they end up getting him to not put his arm in there because someone beats him to it.
Jihoon
puts her arm in.
She's going to put her arm in, and she puts her arm in, and at first it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden you see her get yanked and like pulled flush up against the cabinet itself. Yeah. And she's screaming bloody murder. And then Sungwook, I believe, is trying to help pull her off and get her out of it.
I think it takes like 2 or 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, when they finally get her out, and then she has these scratches on her arm.
3 scratches, if I'm not mistaken, which reminds me of the Holy Trinity and a demon.
The mockery.
Yep. And so that happens, and then all of a sudden, in the chaos of everything, like Jihoon's on the floor, we all of a sudden pan over back to the door, and the door to the cabinet finally opens, and then all of a sudden, all at the same time, we're looking at Charlotte, and Charlotte's scarf gets picked up behind her and then just dropped back down, which I believe is it's in the trailer, or at least it's one of the pictures in like the thumbnails and stuff for this film. It was her scarf flying.
Yeah, which is pretty freaky, especially if you're the one wearing it.
Yeah, I'd be like, nope,
never
get this off of me.
Burning it. And so obviously she's freaked out. Everybody's freaked out. Even the guys who were in on like that were faking are like, oh shit, we didn't do that. Like the fuck.
And are like, nope, I saw that with my own eyes. Yeah, and it's fake, or it's real now.
And so like the girls are freaking out outside of the room. The guys are freaking out. And that's whenever like one of them is even like almost comes clean and is like, look, girls, but gets cut off by the other dude. And then he's like, no, look, guys, we got to keep going. We got to continue and finish this out. Like, we're almost done. We're about to get these 1 million views. But Charlotte is definitely over it at this point, I feel. And the other girl wants to get out as well because she just got fucking scratched.
Yeah. And all the while, Ah-yeon and Jae-yoon are off installing cameras.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah, because they're even like, wow, it sounds like they're screaming a lot.
yeah, they're like, wow, they're screaming for some views down there, kind of thing. And then they hear the ping pong ball, don't they? While they're over there.
Yeah, they hear the ping pong ball noise in the disc like going off.
And then we flash back to Charlotte and Jihoon, and they're like, absolutely not. Charlotte's freaking out because now she's realized that the writing on the wall from underneath her tag has changed from "Let's live" to "Let's die."
Yeah.
Under Charlotte's tag. And so Jihoon and Charlotte are like, absolutely not. We're out. And then Sungwook and Sunghoon get fed up with the captain at this point, and they're like, oh yeah, what the fuck is going on? So they rip out their headpieces, and when the captain's in the middle of talking to them, and they're like, no, we got to figure out some other terms or something else, because something more than what we bargained for is happening here, and we gotta
get paid more for this shit.
Yeah, get paid more. Exactly.
And so they're like,
or we gotta leave.
And so they do this, they come up with this together, and then they get on the phone with the captain. They're like, look, we'll keep going, but you have to pay not only us, but everybody 20% more. Because essentially he's like, we know, like, we're about to get a lot of money off this. Like, our views are already going up. Like, and so we want more of the pie.
Yep, exactly. And then at this point too, Ha-joon realizes that, that all 6 were there during the filming of one scene. And so someone else was shooting it.
Yeah.
That which all also, 6 of them were in the frame. And I was like, how did we not notice this sooner?
Me too. I was like, wait, why didn't I notice that?
Yeah. But all 6 of them were in the frame. So something else was filming.
Getting that shot.
Yeah. The ghosts were helping. They were like, literally. Oh yeah, let's make this real good for their views.
They're just trying to help. They're just trying to like get the real deal. Yeah. And so it gives a very haunted mansion.
Yeah.
And so then we have
at this point they're at 700,000 views too.
And then we have Charlotte, and at this point, her and what's the other girl's name? Jihoon are outside at this point, and they are. I think it's just basically we watch them go out, and then we get another like basically, what's it called? Replay, instant replay of what had happened. Because I believe it's the captain, right? He's looking at it.
Yeah, I think he's looking back.
Oh, that is. Sorry, my notes. That's where it says. My bad. I think I wasn't far enough on my notes up here. Because then that's whenever the boys hear.
They go back into the shower room
and they hear a noise.
Yes, they hear a noise from the supply room, and so they go into the supply room, and they're looking around, and they're like, "We heard this really loud bang, like something banging up against the wall, coming from this room," and then. What in the else could fucking roll out but an empty goddamn wheelchair?
Caitlin's biggest fear.
My biggest fear. My toes curled. I was like, no, I don't.
They're in the haunted asylum. It's got to have a wheelchair.
I know. I was thinking before it, and I was like, there probably will be one.
Yeah.
And then there was, and that's just, I don't know why it scares me. Well, I do know why it scares me so much, because anything that should be in a wheelchair probably is not the best at walking, which means it's crawling.
And that's even scarier.
I don't like crawling things. Because, anytime like Samara or anything comes out and it's like...
It's inhuman. It's not natural.
Yeah. Scary.
And so we have that roll out. And of course, the captain's like, get back behind there and film it now. And before they can even do so...
Stuff starts flying.
Yeah, because the door behind them closes. But at the same time that door closed, like all the furniture went onto the ceiling, because when they turn back around and they look up, it's all up top, and then it just falls, and then all that shit starts flying in the room, and then something, I don't know, it looked like a tire almost came and knocked out Sunwook, and then that's whenever he's all knocked out cold, and Sunghoon gets like pulled out by an entity.
Yeah, and we see him like in the hallway get like flown backwards and stuff like that, and then we're back with Jihoon.
Yes.
And Charlotte, and basically this is where they realize, like, Charlotte had to pause for a little bit, probably because this bitch is in heels, by the way. And then she had to sit down for a second and was probably completely immobilized with fear. And Jihoon's like, come on, let's go. And then they start walking a little bit, and then they realize that all the stuff that was in the lab is now on the floor in front of them. And then basically, as Charlotte's looking at that, she looks up and is like, Jihoon, why are you acting? Like, what are you doing? And then she goes up to the front of her, and then Jihoon's like,
with her eyes all darkened out.
Yeah, she's like turned into a demon.
And then Charlotte's just like, stop doing that, no. And then like gets pulled up into the air
by her hair. Something's like yanking her hair. And I was like, oh shit, that's gotta hurt.
As she gets dropped back down, thankfully, to the ground, but after that she ends up waking up in like
she runs
right.
Yeah, she runs back and she sees the tent and she runs into the tent.
That's what it is. But then instead of it being in the tent, she's like in the room
in the asylum again. And we realize later that it's room 402 that she's in. And she sees it's an empty room, basically, all except for Jihoon in the corner.
Turned away from her, very like Blair Witch style.
Yes, exactly. And then all of a sudden, there's some creepy naked person that reminded me of kind of like the nurses from Silent Hill, like the game.
That is so funny. I was watching Silent Hill before I came here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That is so funny. Yeah, I see what you mean. It also gave me like some iteration of like the strain, like they have this version of the vampires, Sister Goey. That's what it looked like, but naked. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, with its mouth all the way that it was, because it was like open.
So I was also thinking like, wait, when did this become a creature film? I thought this was a ghost film.
Yeah.
But I guess creatures can become ghosts, or maybe it was an experiment.
An experiment, ex-patient that died.
Or some other entity, honestly. It could have been a demon. I don't know.
Yeah. Something.
Spiritual nexus area. It could be a lot of things there.
And she basically, I keep expecting every time her flashlight turns off of the creepy naked person
for it to be closer.
But I think it's even more terrifying the way it sidesteps to be in her light,
just like perfectly aligned just with like her. It's all because then it's like a shadow. It's like you can't shake it. And I was like, Jesus, that's even, because I think it's more terrifying because it's not what I was expecting. And so it was really creepy. And then all of a sudden she basically is like screaming, and then we get Jihoon's face again coming up doing the little and then she's trying to get out of the door, which is locked, and so she can't get out. And that's whenever she turns back around and the creature thing is just kind of there and then runs up on her,
charges her. It turns its head from one side to the other, like and then just charges her, and then it attacks her and drags her off. And then we're back with Sung-hoon, and he is awake now. And basically he's like, absolutely not, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Running up to
Jaehoon and Ayan, and is like, let's get the fuck out of here. Look, we faked these other two incidents, but everything else that's happening now is real. Shit is going down. We need to get out of here. Like, stop trying to unlock 402, because at this point they were like taking a saw to room 402. And
the captain's on the phone at the same time, and the captain now is getting pissed because obviously the dude is like ruining and saying like, oh, we faked all this. And then so he's like kind of listening in on everything, and then he starts to and then they all start to hear Charlotte screaming. And so that's whenever they're like, we figure out that, room 402 is where Charlotte's in, and they hear her screaming. And they hear
a ping pong ball as well. They hear a ping pong ball, and then Charlotte inside room 402. I think that's when the ping pong ball actually shows up.
As it gets thrown at them. Yeah.
And that's when I was like, a ping pong ball.
And then they're like, what the fuck?
So scary.
and they end up having, whatchamacallit, the door opening right behind them, and they're like, what the fuck? And then like everything kind of goes crazy, because then that one
Ha-Jun's at this point coming in now. He's
because
like,
he had Ha-Jun is coming in, captain is coming in, because it's like, if you got to do something, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then what was the other dude's name?
Sun-hyun?
Sun-hyun was trying to run off, but then came running back to them because like he was like, oh, what the fuck? There's something over there.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever something runs up on them, or I don't know, because then they all kind of get knocked out or something, because then they end up waking up in room 402. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're inside room 402 and they realize that there's no door.
Yeah.
They're inside this room with no door. They have no clue how they got in there. They're walking in water, and then they look up and they realize that water is on the ceiling too.
Which is so weird.
It was so weird. And like Sung-hoon threw something up into the water, and it like
went into
it. And then he was like, someone's staring at us. Someone's looking down at us through the water.
That's scary.
Which was terrifying. And
very Mufasa.
Then he pulls up his like infrared camera, and we see this ghost girl in the corner.
Yeah.
Who's kind of just standing there. And then every time he puts it back up, she gets closer and closer until eventually, and then we also got the hands coming around the faces at this
Which
point.
happens very fast. Yeah.
It was like like if you were taking notes, you would have missed it.
Yeah.
But the hands coming around
characters,
Ayeon's and Jae's faces. And Sung-hoon is just losing his mind now. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? And then he's pulling up the camera, and it all of a sudden starts glitching, and then you start seeing all these people in there. Like it's just
all the
like,
patients, essentially.
Hundreds of patients just
and
sitting
those
there.
white kind of looking outfits.
And then you hear wailing and stuff like that as well. And then
the two, they're like, everybody's possessed essentially.
Yeah, Ayeon and Jae get possessed now. And then Sung-hoon sees a face himself and then gets possessed himself. And we see the face right up in front of him, and it's like, wah! And he's like, wah!
Yeah.
And then
Wong. And then after that, we see this lady coming out of like the tub in the bathing area.
Yeah, and the showers get turned on by themselves.
Yeah. And that's whenever Captain comes into play, and he comes into the building. And he is like, does he walk into 402?
Yeah, he just walks right into there, 402, and he's in there, and it's so creepy. It reminded me of The Conjuring.
Oh yeah.
Whenever the feet turn, and he's up there staring into like, what was it, a mirror?
It's like a mirror or something. He sees his reflection, or somehow he sees himself like looking back at him, which spooks him out. Because I don't think it was a mirror. I don't think it was a mirror. Yeah, because he was like, how am I seeing myself? Like, this is so weird. Yeah. And then that's whenever we have the like body just like bloop, like a clothesline, like popping right behind him, and he feels it on his back, and he's just like, oh god.
And then it slowly starts turning,
and he gets that camera and he starts to turn it and then pan it to where he can see what's behind him. And then as soon as he does, she's like right up on him
with her head turned all the way around now, and she's like, and is just screaming.
Picks him up into air like we had Charlotte, but instead of getting just dropped, she chokes him out and kills him.
Kills him. Yeah, he's basically hanged by a ghost. And then we're back with Sung-wook. He's woken up now, and he's trapped in that wheelchair, or a wheelchair. And it all of a sudden starts going, and it starts like rolling. Yeah. He's screaming for help at this point, being like, someone please help me. Like, any of you, Sung-hoon, come here, like help. And then the wheelchair just starts taking off pretty fast. Yeah. And it rolls right into room 402. The door shuts. And then we get shots of an empty asylum. Basically, we see that we're getting just all the different shots, and it seems pretty quiet now. Yeah. Everything's like dead, abandoned. And then we're getting shots of the live stream too, right? At this point.
Yeah, because it goes back to the live stream, that like the YouTube interface, that type of thing that we see with like, live live feed and everything.
We see it's only at 500 views now.
And then we get like a little caption. They were like saying like, I knew they faked it for views and stuff like that. Like everything dropped. And then all of a sudden the graphics on the side that looked like Samara was there the whole time and started getting up, and they kind of start walking off and then glitch off the screen.
Yeah, which was creepy. And then we end with a shot of
the holy water.
And it starts like
evaporating, or was it just like
it looked like popping? Rain was hitting it or something. It was weird. Like it was raining inside the building. And
that's it.
Maybe the water was mixing with the ceiling water of the other room 402. Like what if they were inside room 402 the whole time? Like if they entered and they just were in there the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah, and it could have been like they're like a trance almost the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anything could be possible because they did also like the girls thought they were outside, but they were inside the whole time. Either that or somehow got supernaturally led to be inside. So anything could probably happen. Yeah.
Pretty wild.
But that's the end of it, and that's our movie.
Yeah, that is 2018's Ganjiam Haunted Asylum. It is that's one hell of a film.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
And it's
a lot.
only like an hour and 36 minutes.
Yeah, it was really easy to get through, although it took me like 4 hours to watch it because I kept pausing it for all my notes.
For life reasons. It's okay. Yeah.
I would love to watch this movie, go back and watch it uninterrupted, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful, I mean, we've seen, Grave Encounters and stuff like that, which was super similar. It was basically an Americanized version of Ganjiam Haunted Asylum.
Yeah.
But it was a good interpretation of an asylum film that was found footage. Yeah. How many boos would you give it?
I won't lie. Before going into it, I wasn't necessarily too excited because it's a found footage film. And no offense to you or Phil, but those aren't necessarily my favorite. Mostly because I just get really bad motion sickness, like in life in general. So when I do watch those films, they kind of tend to make me sick. Like I can't even play like first POV like video games because for like for like at least if I play it for more than 20 minutes, like I will like have a headache literally the rest of the day. Like I will be nauseous. And so this one, thankfully, actually, it didn't like necessarily. I didn't get that way with it. Thankfully they were pretty steady with their fucking camera because most films everybody's like running and shaking. They've got my hands and it's like it's just so shaky literally. So this one wasn't that bad, and then I kind of really
they actually had some really beautiful camera shots. Some of them I was like, damn, this is some nice handiwork.
And most of them I felt like were on still cameras or like the ones that they had planted, so it was unless it was on their shoulder or something, like we did see some of those, like it was pretty still. And I liked that we were following a format of like, it seemed like we were watching a YouTube video, as opposed to like a film. So we were kind of like immersed kind of like in what I feel like we would do in real life. Like what I watch YouTube shit like that all the time.
You love YouTube.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I'm on YouTube more than probably any other streaming thing because my attention span is short and I just like all different kinds of things. So it, there's just everything on YouTube, literally everything. And so the also the characters were pretty, like everybody did really good acting and nobody was like kind of like everybody's lines were pretty believable and like real. And it kind of also helped that like they weren't necessarily supposed to be like actors or like they were like supposed to be like real people, like, you know what I mean? Like just like normal run-of-the-mill real people, like, and they gave those vibes and like they didn't feel too detached. And even though some of their like decisions I wouldn't probably make, or I would have been like, nah, we're dipping.
We're gonna get the fuck out of here.
They all still had like this still really like real groundedness to it that like it just all seemed super believable. I don't know how else to put it, but I thought that the asylum was pretty freaky. I like that we didn't have things popping out when you think it would pop out because it really builds up the like my anxiety for some of this movie was like a little like on the edge of my seat, like because you really it's like any other movie of like where they really build up the tension of you think something's gonna pop out but then it doesn't, but then when it does they kind of really lean into it and go all out. Like you said, it was kind of dramatic in those moments, like especially when she puts her arm in the little hole and then she has like the scratches, and then the ping pong ball was so scary.
It was
when
so
it came
scary.
out, like it got me. It genuinely got me.
Same.
And
it's
then
just a ping pong
and it's
ball.
just a ping pong ball. And they also, honestly, up until really the end part, there was no ghosts.
Yeah.
There were no ghosts. There's just noises and like things happening, but there wasn't really any ghosts or things popping out or like things fucking with them until we got to that very end. And then we got that creature looking thing, which also was very terrifying looking and very creepy, and her being in there and with it sliding, it was very scary.
Yeah, not a fan of its sidestep.
And so overall, I think that I would probably give it like a 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good film. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
That's awesome.
And I think I really fuck with like the style and how it flowed and how we got those little almost breaks. I think that's what like helped my brain.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. I was thinking as I was going through it, I was like, oh, Josh will probably like how this is.
why doesn't every movie have like little breaks like that? Because
Yeah.
it like gives my brain a refresh.
Baby intermission.
And like it allows me to then like restart my attention time clicker, like my 15-minute interval of attention. And yeah. It was cool. I liked it. So
Good.
4.5 boost.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You want some fun facts?
Yeah.
And then we'll get Phil's review.
Yeah.
The filmmakers were unable to get permission from the South Korean government to film in the actual hospital, so scenes in the film set of Ganjiam were actually filmed in the National Maritime High School in Busan, with the production team adhering closely to the floor plan of the hospital to recreate exactly the same exterior and hallways.
Cool. That makes me want to watch Train to Busan.
Yes. Right? Oh, such a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Just shortly before the theatrical release, the owner of the asylum filed a lawsuit against the film being shown in theaters, claiming that the film will have negative effects on the sale of the building. However, a Seoul court in late March 2018 ruled in favor of the film being shown. So this film almost didn't exist.
That didn't exist. And also, I don't think that's your first problem is bad publicity. If it already has bad publicity.
It's an asylum.
More fun facts. Yes.
The film, a critical and financial success, became the third most watched horror film in South Korea after Phone 2002 and A Tale of Two Sisters 2003.
Cool. Wait, those other ones were horror ones too, or just regular?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll have to check
most watched horror film in South Korea after Phone and Tale of Two Sisters. Yeah, we'll have to remember that. Conception for the film was inspired by a 2012 article where CNN Travel selected the abandoned Ganjiam psychiatric facility is one of the 7 freakiest places on the planet. So it's a real place, which is pretty cool.
Let's go. JK.
Because most of the time it's not a real place.
Yeah.
And then in the ending scenes of the film, the Horror Times live stream website is visible. Examining the website closely shows that the live stream has 1,234 plays with 56 likes, 78 shares, and 910 comments. In order, these numbers make the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So cute. That's fun.
Yeah.
Cute. And then Phil's, let me get to Phil's.
Fill me up. Ooh.
Oh. Sorry, Phil. He said, overall, I really enjoyed Ganjiam Haunted Asylum. Boo rating of 3.5 to 4. Basically. He says, I really liked how they incorporated the new age of vlogging. It brought in a new element for a horror film. He said, I also really appreciated how they didn't rely heavily on jump scares and really built around the story of the insane asylum. And he said, sorry, not the best review, but it's a film I thoroughly enjoyed. And that's coming from a Korean American that had to read English subtitles. And then he said, Andrew needs to watch it too. And then he also said, that's so funny. He said, damn it, Caitlin, why the hell are you doing it at noon? And he said, I was going to write a bullshit Rickroll interview. And so then he went into, I enjoyed how there wasn't a storyline about strangers in love, but we know the rules and so do I.
Yeah.
Funny.
Oh, well, that's a really good review. That's a solid review.
I know. Yeah. I thought it was a good I was like, nope, that's exactly what we needed.
Getting straight to the point, Phil.
Yeah.
We like it.
And so I think
3.5 to 4, he said, right?
Yeah.
So do we say that's like a 3.8 or?
Yeah, let's just make it a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
It's a good film.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was. Of course, I really enjoy found footage. I thought all the actors were super believable. There was not really any point where I questioned any of their acting. They all seemed genuinely terrified and freaked out in the moment. And I enjoyed the storyline of the asylum, how we got such an in-depth like history of it and all the different rumors and stuff that went into it. And then it wasn't just like, okay, we're a team investigating an asylum. It was like, it really kind of set the story up for you. And I liked the way that they did it with the review of watching the 2 young boys at the beginning and then going into Hajun talking about how their disappearance happened and how he believes that the footage was not faked. And because there was like a ghost in the doorway and stuff too of 402 that they saw. And I just thought it was really cool how they went about laying the scene and really setting it up for a successful film. I thought it was brilliantly done. I loved all the scares in there. The monster creature guy was terrifying. The whole hands wrapping around the face is like, no.
The eye things with like them getting possessed, that was kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the like stuff going on.
That was creepy. If that was happening to me in real life, I would be like, no, what's going on? And I would cry and then shit my pants.
I do that regularly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a 4.5 for me. I really, really enjoyed this film. I want to watch it again without having to take notes, so I can just enjoy it.
Yeah. No, everybody, I agree with like all of those points you made.
If you haven't seen this film, I would 1000% recommend you go watch it. It's Phil recommended it, and then also my friends Kenny and Sarah recommended this film to me as well.
Oh, cool. Multiple recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So, but Phil was the one who put it on our listener request. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's like a solid 4.25 or something, basically.
4.25.
Yeah, from your boobays and Phil.
And yeah, like Phil did, you can also put in a listener request if you'd like us to cover something else that you want us to watch. It's always we're always excited and eager to see something that either we haven't seen or maybe we have seen but haven't seen in a while and that you would like us to watch.
Yeah, it's super fun for us to do these and to hear y'all's feedback on it because we really enjoy getting to hear your thoughts and not just ours.
Well, and then sometimes we don't know what to watch too. Sometimes we we're just like, I don't know. And then we're like, oh, we already watched that. Or like, oh, yeah, we just run out of ideas sometimes. So it's nice.
Even though there's a billion horror films, it's just we have to watch ones that people will actually want to listen to.
It's true.
For starters.
So yeah. And I guess that's it for Ganjiam Haunted Asylum.
Yep, 2018. 4.25 from your boobays and Phil. So as always,
we're in the lovely Rug Media Network studios.
That's right. They take great care of us. And you can listen to us and all the other amazing podcasts all in one central place.
At rugmedianetwork.com.
That's right. And then you can also listen to us on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right. Because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then also word of mouth. Tell your friends. Tell your ghosts. Tell your
Ouija board.
Yeah. Tell your Ouija board. Spell it out.
Contact the dead.
Boobays.
Literally.
Yeah.
They have Wi-Fi.
They do. They live in your house rent free.
Yeah.
So get them in on it. Pyramid scheme.
Ooh. And, let's fuck these ghosts over. No, just
kidding. Make them go into tons of debt.
Literally.
Yay.
No, we are an equal opportunist employer. We are giving everybody a platform.
Yeah, all you got to do is listen. That's all we ask for. But if you want to reach out to us and let us know your listener requests and what films you think we should cover next, or let us know your thoughts on Ganjiam Haunted Asylum, you can do so all in one central place, and that is Instagram at
Boobays Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES because we're your boobays, not your boo babes.
That's right. And then until next time, this has been a great spooky season, you guys.
It has.
This is concluding our spooky season month.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Oh, that one flew by.
I know, it really did.
It was a lot
by so
though.
Fast. Yeah, it was.
But yes. And thank you to everybody who listens and who will be our future listeners and who tells other people about listening and for just sticking around with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. We've done this now for over 2 years. Which is wild.
Yeah, it really is. Time flies.
Long time. We've covered over 100 movies.
That's crazy.
Probably like 120 now at this point.
I've seen so many movies.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And like as I was typing in Ganjiam on
like other movies popped up and you're like, oh, I should do that.
Well, I was first off spelling Ganjiam incorrectly. I put Ganjiam J.
And it's with the G-O.
And
G-O.
Ganja and Hess popped up. And I remembered that we watched Ganja and Hess. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful film that we got to witness because of this podcast.
And I would have never watched it otherwise.
Would have never watched it on my own. And it was just such a picturesque, just beautifully shot, artistic film. And I'm so glad that we got to cover that. If you haven't listened to our Ganja and Hess episode, or if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It's beautiful. Definitely worth the watch. It's an older film.
Very artistic.
But super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just so thankful for this spooky season. And I'm so thankful that we get to cover movies that we love. And I'm thankful I get to do it with you. My best
That's
boo
so
bae.
mushy. Thanks. Me too.
I love you.
I love you too. Let's murder each other.
Okay.
Not now. Not yet. That'll be the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, until next time.
Until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.